Nashville is alive with music, sure, but creativity also thrives in our art, marketing, technology, food, and in every corner of our community. On Creative Assembly's The Spark podcast, our mission is to amplify Nashville's diverse creative voices, foster growth through shared journeys, and inspire a city that thrives on collaboration. Each episode will take a deep dive into the lives and passions of Nashville's most innovative minds. We'll explore their creative processes, the challenges they face, and power of collaboration, along with so much more. Welcome to the Spark Podcast, brought to you by Snapshot, a digital agency on a mission to serve with heart, execute with excellence, and build something bigger together. And now, here's The Spark.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Spark, where we explore the stories and the strategies behind Nashville's most creative minds. Today, we're sitting down with Arnie Malham, a bold entrepreneur, cultural champion, and founder of CJ Advertising. From building a powerhouse agency for personal injury law firms to launching BetterBookClub and writing Worth Doing Wrong, Arnie has made it his mission to transform company culture and spark personal growth. Let's dive into his journey and the bold moves that helped define his career. Man, let's start with your journey. How'd you start CJ Advertising?
As the legendary story is, I started, as many entrepreneurs do probably, is I got fired. And I was unemployable and had to do something. So, I was fortunate to have won the confidence of three clients. And those three clients all were in the same industry. And they begot me the fourth client and the fifth client. And as we grew in that industry, we became experts in it. We didn't know we were experts at the time. We were just, finding our way. But the whole thing started, I was helping two or three clients in the same industry, which was personal injury law, which is an unusual one, especially in 1994, 1995, and it just sort of grew from there. I got fired from my job, and here we go.
What do you think they saw in you to want to invest in getting you started?
I think I earnestly, I was a marketing consultant for a TV station, and I earnestly saw my job as helping companies get better. My job wasn't to sell advertising. I really earnestly felt my job was to help them get better at their marketing. And the reason I got fired is I was helping them outside of Channel 5. I was helping them understand what else they should buy, what other media they should be in, and that became a little side hustle. I shouldn't have done it, but it became a little side hustle, and that's why I got fired. But the passion there was helping them get better at it, as opposed to just doing the same thing over and over again. And so that I think they saw that. I think that they saw me trying to help them get better, and they liked that.
Yeah. In the early days of CJ, most of the clients came based on referrals from these first few clients?
Yeah, it was, J. Marshall Hughes and Coleman, a big Kentucky firm that is now here in Tennessee. He was my first client, and he introduced me to a gentleman in California, Bill Berg. And then I think Marshall also introduced me to Bob Crumley out of North Carolina. And those three were my first three clients. Bob Crumley came to town to shoot a commercial the week after I got fired, and we were shooting the commercial at News Channel 5. It was very awkward, but we got through it, and we kept building from there. Those three introduced me to, client number 4, client number 5. I remember we got to 10 clients. We thought we had, oh my God, look at us go. At the peak, it was 50 branded personal injury law firms from around the country, one per market. Average spend then was at least $1 million. Some spending, tens of millions, some just getting started with a few $100,000. But it was a niche we owned. We knew more about that space than any other agency in the country, and it helped us grow.
Yeah. How'd you go from starting CJ, running CJ, growing it up to becoming a national advocate for company culture?
Well, we often learn the most about the things we need the most. That's a quote from AJ and Rory Vaden. They're great, personal branding folks, local legends here. Doing a great job, but they often say we learn and end up writing a book about or talking about the things we need to learn the most. I was a terrible boss for the first 10 years of CJ. I was the boss no one wanted to be around. I expected way too much from my team. I was way too hard on them. I thought everyone should be doing, a billion things when I had no idea, right? But I realized at a point that I was doing it wrong. That I was not being a leader. I was being a boss, and it sucked for everybody. And so early on, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was a 20-year run in business. The first 10 years, I was not anyone's favorite boss. And I never probably became anyone's favorite boss, but I started getting better and better at it as life went on.
Yeah. What was that moment where you realized, oh, man, I've got to do something different? Was there an event or?
Yeah, we were doing okay as a company. We were pushing the rock up the hill. It took every ounce of energy to just push the rock up the hill. And if you let up for a minute, it would just roll back down on you and squeeze your toes and hurt your arms, and it was just so hard. But we were doing it. We were pushing the rock up the hill, and we had found some level of success, if you want to call it that, financially and reputationally. But it was hard. It was the point a lot of entrepreneurs get to, which is I'm here, I'm doing it, and then boom, here comes the rock again. But we had our clients. One of the things we would do is we'd bring our clients together to meet. They were in different markets. I knew they could help each other grow, and so we'd have these conferences. And when we had the conferences, we had to bring in people to speak to them. And one of the speakers was John DeJulius. John DeJulius, customer service guru, helping them understand how they need to deliver strong customer service. And in his speech, he talked about how you have to develop a culture of customer service. And in describing it, he said, and culture reflects leadership. And it hit me. He was talking about customer service, but it hit me so hard in that moment that I had a culture at CJ. It wasn't one I was proud of. It wasn't one that my team members liked. It wasn't one that I was proud of in any shape or form, but it was my culture, and I was the leader, which means I was doing a really bad job. And at that moment, I realized that if I wanted a culture that attracted the right people, kept the right people, helped us become successful, then I had to change as a leader. And that began the journey. It wasn't overnight, didn't happen in a week, didn't happen in a month, didn't happen in a year. It began there, and it stayed. It became a practice for 10 years until we sold the agency.
Wow, that's an unbelievable story. I bet out of 10 agency owners, 5 would say that exact same thing, myself included. Terrible boss early on.
Terrible. Yeah.
But you have to learn the hard way many times. CJ had a niche you've already talked about, the personal injury law space, and we had Drew McClellan on a few episodes back.
I listened to that. Good episode.
Yeah, and he talked about like niching down. And I guess, when did you see that, hey, I've got 3 or 4 of these law firms. I need to niche into this because that could help us grow into this, national powerhouse.
Well, I think I got some things wrong, got some things right. But one of the things I got right early, I was in a meeting with J. Marshall Hughes, and this is when I was still working at Channel 5. I was still doing two worlds, and he had his leadership team in there, and we're talking about all these things, or talking about all his business stuff, and I was getting very anxious. I needed to be somewhere else, right? And I was impatient. I was young. And they weren't talking about marketing. They were talking about the business. And I was getting, a little ready to roll, And so I look over at Marshall and I go, Marshall, we're not talking about marketing. Why am I here? And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, son, he called me son because he's J. Marshall Hughes.
Yeah.
Son, the more you know about my business, the more you can help me. That locked it in right there. I realized that it wasn't about the marketing. It was about the business. It was about helping them grow the business, and that goes well beyond marketing, right? The worst thing an agency wants to hear is slow down my marketing, I can't handle the business. And so if you don't understand their business, if you can't help them handle more business, your marketing is going to lead to an eventual dead end. And so we had a mindset of, we're not here just to help with the marketing, we're here to help them grow their firm. And that was sort of the difference. And to do that, I had to understand the business, and to understand the business, I damn sure need to know a lot about it.
Yeah, the economics of how they make money and how the ad spend, and that was something that I really learned with my time spending with you, is just how every dollar turns into X, right? Yeah. And it's based on what ad, and that direct response was just super powerful in my learning journey.
We shepherded law firms from an era where most of their money was spent in yellow pages, and it became then where most of their money was spent on TV, and then at the tail end, right before we sold, and now most of their money is going to what we call digital, or however you want to frame it, not the first two. And so understanding how those dollars could be leveraged, where they went, that was our quest.
Yeah, we should have started the episode off with this, but I don't want to miss this opportunity to talk about naming CJ Advertising, because I love this story, and I bet you there's a lot of listeners out there that would have no idea where the name CJ Advertising came from.
You know what? I'm not going to tell that story. That story it's in the book. It was always reserved for clients of the agency and team members of the agency. You had to be one of those two to hear the story from me. I put it in the very back of the book, so that if you read the book, you can finally get there. Some people might guess, but here we are, and it was CJ. It's still CJ Advertising. There's a great story behind it, and we've had a lot of fun with our mascot, the camel, and everything that goes into camel culture.
Yeah, man. Well, that's a good point. And like, I would say that anybody out there listening should read this book. If you're an agency owner, if you're a marketer out there, if you want to build a company and a company culture, Worth Doing Wrong is an amazing book. I think you narrate it, right? I
you can read it, you can listen to it. If you listen to me at like 1.2, I sound a little better. But it's, it's my journey, and wise men learn from their mistakes. Really wise men learn from others, and so you get to read about the mistakes that we made and the challenges we had and how we overcame them, and stories along the way. So if you pick it up, thank you.
Yeah, well, you said that building a great business culture requires getting things wrong.
Yeah.
So can you unpack that just for the audience?
Well, again, culture reflects leadership. Some leaders are perfectionists, and they're gonna do everything in their power to learn everything they can about whatever they're doing, and they're gonna try to get it right the first time. And that by nature will be their company, right? That's the people they hire, they attract, they retain will also follow that culture. My position was, I don't have the patience for that. I'm not smart enough to do it. I went to Ole Miss. I didn't. I gotta work to get everything I got. But my position is, I'm going to do it wrong, and I'm going to figure out how to get it right. And I'm going to do it wrong again, and I'm going to figure out how to get it right. And that's the culture I wanted in my company, too. I wanted people willing to get it wrong on their way to getting it right. It doesn't mean get it wrong and stop. It means get it wrong, make it better, get it right. And that's sort of the position of why it's worth doing wrong, is because that's how we figure it out. Before GPS, we did a lot of traveling and did a lot of video shoots in cities around the country before GPS. And before GPS, you got into the city and you started finding your way around. And almost inevitably, we would get lost on the way there. But by God, next time we came, we knew our way because we got lost first, not because we knew our way. And now, if you go to a new city with your GPS and you follow your GPS to where you're going, if you came back with that, you can't find your way. You become dependent on the GPS. And the same concept with Worth Getting It Wrong. If you're willing to get it wrong the first few times, you'll learn more about the process and why you're doing it a certain way, why you're taking a right on that street, why you're taking a left, than you will if you just got it right perfectly, or if someone guided you there. Be willing to take responsibility for getting it wrong until you get it right.
Yeah. Well, you talk about the culture starts with the leader.
Yes.
But you also have to have great people around you in order to build and keep that culture going.
Well, and that's on you, right? If you don't have the right people, that's on you.
Yeah.
You hired them, right?
Let's go a little deeper with that.
Yeah.
How did you approach finding the right people?
Well, I talk about in my book, I talk about my greatest regrets, and it's when I found the wrong people, but I thought they were the right people, right? And so no one gets that 100%. There's no way to do it. But the key is to create values in your company that you're willing to stand behind, to hire people that respect those values, and to take action when they don't. And that action isn't fire, fire, fire. The action is tell more stories, do corrective things, lead people to where you want them to go. And if they still can't get there, you've got to make a change. You're responsible for the people in your company. You're responsible for the processes in your company. And I know it's all one way. No, you can delegate responsibility, but you can't abdicate responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. And so in the end of the day, everyone out there who owns a business or runs a department, you have the culture you deserve. It's your culture. Culture reflects leadership. And whether it's good or bad, whether you're complaining about it or cheering for it, it's your culture and you're the leader.
Yeah.
That's the worst news as a leader. Oh, shit. But it's also your ability. You also have the ability to make that change. Sometimes that means change. As Andy Bailey says, if you can't change the people, you have to change the people, right? Mm-hmm. But your first responsibility is to help them see your way. Your second responsibility is to help to find the people that are more likely to see your way, right? And then be open to the fact that your way might not be right, that you have to, flexibility, listen, respect, optimism for the future. All these things become important sort of components to you being the leader you need to be to get the culture you want.
Yeah, man, that's a great point.
It's always you.
Yeah.
That's the curse and the blessing of being the leader. Whatever culture you have, it's your culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, your book is just chock full of all kinds of ideas of building a company culture, all the things that you did throughout your time at CJ, building that great culture the last 10 years of your business. So what's maybe one thing that you did that was unconventional to help shape, the CJ culture, and what was the outcome of it?
I think the overlying premise was that if CJ was an agency for personal injury lawyers. And we can't forget about Legal Intake, which was a call center for personal injury lawyers. CJ employed about 70 people. Legal Intake employed about 125 people. And every day they came to work, and their job was to help one of our firms be better, right? That was their premise. My job as the leader of both these companies is to help our team members get better every day, right? To trust each other, to grow and learn their trade and what we do and what they do best. Their job was to help our clients get better. My job was to help them get better. And so our mindset was, if you work for us a day, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, 20 years, you will leave here better than you came. And that's our commitment. That was our commitment to our people, that we will make sure we invest in them for training, for education, for growth, for all the things that make them better. And so just that premise of, if you give me your time in this company, I'm going to do everything I can to make you better. And that includes every contact in my Rolodex, every resource I have. You're going to, when you come to work, it's going to be the cleanest environment you could ever imagine. We're going to have cleaning crews in here 2 and 3 times a day. There's going to be fresh food, healthy food everywhere. The bathrooms are going to be spotless. The toilet paper is going to be immaculate. Like, it's going to be a place that you enjoy coming because you trust your team members. They trust you. It's immaculately clean. There's healthy food, and everyone respects you.
Yeah.
That's the environment. And so with that mindset, people didn't sit in their cars and say, I don't want to go to work today. Leave crazy at home. Leave being disrespected and not appreciated and all the things that happen. Leave that at home and come here and be the best team member you can be.
Yeah.
And so that mindset sort of set in motion all the things we did, whether that's people in camel costumes handing out champagne on Valentine's Day, or it's May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day, whether it's you're paying people to read, whether it's all the things we did that are outlined in the book. It was all under the premise of a place where you're trusted, respected, you'd like to come, and you're going to get better.
Yeah.
Long answer, short question.
No, that's amazing, man. Tell me about...
Because, Mark, who wants to come work for an agency that helps personal injury? Not many people.
Yeah.
So we had to create a culture where there was something to be excited about beyond helping personal. I love personal injury firms. Help a lot of people, right? When you need help and no one else will help you, I know they take a piece of the fee. They take a piece of what they win as their fee, but they help when no one else will. And so we believe in it helps make our country, it helps make products safer. It helps make people safer. They do a lot of great things, but it's not exciting to come work for a personal injury firm. We create a culture. Our goal was to create a culture that was exciting to work for. And that became the push to get us there.
Yeah. You tried so many things. You just mentioned a bunch, but was there one thing that you did that maybe may have backfired? Maybe what's a lesson you learned from it?
I think that when we did things that didn't align with our values, that it was always short-lived. We'd have an idea that to try to add a piece of culture or to do something and we couldn't align it with our core values, that didn't work. And I wish I had some specifics, but it's been about 6 years now since we sold the agency and the call center, and I'm sure I wrote about some in the book, but I can't pull them up in my head right now.
Yeah.
I'd also say that anytime when we tried to make programs, we'd come up with a program, and we can't do that because these people can't do it or those people can't do it. Maybe they're remote, maybe they're in-house, maybe they're tied to a desk more than others, things like that. And we would say, well, we can't do it. Well, the answer is we can do it. We just can't do it for everybody. And so the key was to find things that this works for 30 people, this works for 20 people, this works for 15. You're not going to make everybody happy anyway, right? I think I heard you maybe in the podcast with Lauren say, whatever you do, you're going to make some percentage of people happy and some percentage of people sad. Mm-hmm. And so we had to learn to offer flexibility in our cultural program. Some people could work from home. Some people couldn't. Some people had flexible hours. Some people didn't. Some people could trade shifts. Some people couldn't. We came up with programs to fit the person as opposed to programs that had to fit everybody.
Man, that is a great point, because most people do roll it out and they try to cram it down everybody's throat, and 50% of the people are going to be happy and 50% won't.
And so we just, it doesn't, as long as and when people come and say, well, I don't like that we can't do that, we're not saying, well, we're not going to change so that you can. You're right, we can't do that. What can we do? Mm-hmm. What can we do to make your life better? Do you need to come in sooner? Do you need to come in later? Do you need some flexibility? Training? Tell me what it is. Tell me how to make you excited about coming to work every day, and we'll do everything in my power to make it happen.
Wow. Well, what about a leadership lesson maybe that you thought early on in the business that helped you guide it, and maybe later in your career changed? Was there anything early on in CJ that you believed in wholeheartedly, and then.
Well, I'd say that as we followed this niche, we tried other things. We tried this thing. Like CJ Advertising was for lawyers. We tried another agency called CJ Works. We're like, well, what if we could develop a team that knows everything there is to know about another industry and try to grow that at the same time? Well, we couldn't do it. We couldn't make it work. And so but we tried it, right? And then Jimmy and I, my business partner Jimmy, we come up with all kinds of ideas along the way of little areas like, what if we did this? What if we did that? Every time we'd have to shut it down, sometimes after no investment, sometimes after a lot of investment. And we kept coming back to what we did best and what we could come in and focus on every day. And so I think that the answer to your question, it was stop trying to do everything, just do something really, really well. And we just kept, and after about 7 or 8 years, we stopped trying. We just kept moving forward.
Yeah.
People would come and say, oh, do this for chiropractic. We learned to say, absolutely not. This is what we do.
What was that? This is maybe something new for me. So what was the industry that you tried to, was it chiropractic?
Chiropractic practices was one. I'm trying to think of the other, what else we did. Oh, then different law, like we did personal injury. Well, why don't we do, family law, or why don't we try to help other types of lawyers grow their practices? And there's reasons, we can go into all the reasons why it works and doesn't work. But we were great at what we did, and every time we tried to distract from that, it only took away from what we did really well. And the same thing with legal intake, our call center. Why not answer phones for other people? I don't think we ever tried to do anything but answer personal injury phone calls. And then maybe a one-off here or there, but it never worked out. Mm-hmm. We were really good at answering calls into personal injury firms.
Yeah. When I first met you, part of our conversation was around like, hey, what books are you reading? Mm-hmm. And, I was, Built to Last, and, a lot of the books that we commonly we'd both read together. And I know reading, you've talked about it, like educating your team. I remember one thing you said about hey, we're going to pay our people to read these books. And you said something to the effect of, the CFO says to the CEO, what if we pay these people and they leave? And the CEO says to the CFO, well, what if we don't pay them, they don't read, and they stay here? So I know, after leaving CJ, after selling CJ, and leaving that behind, you actually launched a company called BetterBookClub, which today Snapshot uses BetterBookClub, and we pay our team to read because, I got that from you and believed in it wholeheartedly. But, why books? Why now? What?
Well, there's lots of ways to learn and grow, right? Tom Peters, I think it's his quote. If you don't pay the worst than paying your people and they leaving is if you don't pay them and they stay, right? And that the key is that they believe you want them to get better. Reading is just a form of getting better, right? And listening is reading, right? In my book, I listen to more books than I actually read. And so we came up with it. What would happen was I would read a book and I would love that book. And I would go buy 20 copies and I'd hand it out to my people. And I'd say, hey, read this book. And they didn't want to read that book. And the vast majority of them didn't read the book. About a third would read it because they do. About a third absolutely wouldn't. And about a third would say they did, but they really didn't. And all they wanted me to do is stop telling them what to read. And so that wasn't working. And that's the way most founders, CEOs, small company business owners, they operate. They get all excited. They want other people to do it. Well, people have their lives and they're on their own journey. And when I read something, it hits me. And if I read it 2 years later, it hits me different. Well, it's the same for them. They're just not ready for that book. And so the process is I don't really care what they read. I only care that they read. And then we went to, well, what if we just paid them to read so that they at least can start the habit? And when you start someone on the habit of reading, you've changed, more than likely, you've changed their lives forever. And you've probably changed their family's lives forever. The only difference in you and I today and 10 years from now are the people we meet and the books we read. And when I say the books we read, I mean the information we ingest. Maybe that's from podcast or culture or other things, but it's what we put in our brains to help form our thoughts. And the people we meet who influence us, who say one thing when we're thinking about another. And so I want that from my people as well. And so I had to realize it's not what they read, it's the habit of reading. And by paying people to read, if I can help them start that habit, then I've changed their lives. And I believe that with all my heart and soul. And so Better Book Club is a SaaS application that allows any company in the world, and we have companies in Australia, in Europe, in Canada, in Mexico, and all over the U.S. that use Better Book Club to incentivize their teams to read. And so it has been a huge, huge win for me to see that much success. It's been a huge win for the companies that use it and to start people on that journey. And we're very proud of the platform right now.
Yeah, I love Better Book Club, and actually, as the leader of Snapshot, it's great when people in my organization read books and they fill out their book report, and I get a copy of it because I love to see what they're reading, and then I get to go in and kind of get what they've taken from it. And like literally, I may save those in a folder, and on the weekend I may read through them just to see. But it's amazing to see like the team growing and what they got from that book, based on maybe even what I got from it.
Yeah, and you know, you see what they read, they see what you read, right? And so you're suggesting without suggesting, and then you all of a sudden you see what are the most popular books in our company and who are our best readers. And when you're putting a meeting together, let's pull the people that have all read this book because I know how they're kind of thinking about it. So there's all kinds of advantages, both you know, socially and constructively that it can be used for, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And so it's a you know, I would just encourage people to look at it and stop telling people what to read and just recognize and reward them when they do, and you'll get a much better result.
Yeah. What, like, let's just say, hey, running the business 10 years, I want to shift the culture of the company. What is the first thing that somebody could do to just start doing that? You talked about it's one little thing at a time.
Yeah. Well, first is realizing you're the leader and it's your culture. The second is that you're not going to, however long it took you to get to where you are, it'll take that long, if not twice as long, to get it where you want to go. And so it's one thing at a time. And so whether you read my book or you read some other book about culture, or you see a speaker and you write down 10 things you want to do, here are the rules. Change one thing per quarter. Add one thing per quarter. Don't get carried away. The more you try to do it once, the less it's actually going to work. Number two, every program needs a champion. And that champion is not you. It's not your COO. It's not your HR person. It is the person lowest on your org chart who can do the job. And for us, a lot of stuff was done by our front desk manager and by our entry-level people. It helped them get acclimated to the culture. It helped them get to know the people in the company. It helped them gain respect and appreciation for the work they did. Make the champion of the program someone not on your leadership team at the very least, because it'll get pushed to the side of their desk. People below that line will use those programs to show you what they're made of, and they'll get done, and they'll get done consistently. And I would just tell you, the third thing is have them have a checklist. So that if your front desk manager is managing your BetterBookClub, then they need a checklist of the things they do every week, every month, every quarter to make that work. And their job is to constantly keep up that checklist so that when they make a change in their career, they can pass that checklist on to someone else. And so that's what keeps programs running in your business. It's not the stuff you do for a week and forget about. It's the stuff you've been doing for 4 years, and now it's just part of who you are as a company.
Yeah, man, that is such a powerful lesson, man. Those three things are just, anybody should embrace that. And you've grown a powerhouse agency before you sold it. CJ, we used to joke that it's the biggest agency in Nashville that nobody had ever heard of, right?
Yeah.
And it was because we had one client per market, and we had one client in Nashville. And so how have you seen the city change, over the time you ran CJ from a creative standpoint?
Yeah, it was a extremely competitive market, a lot of agencies fighting for big pieces of business. And, Nashville, it wasn't the city it was. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it wasn't the city it is today. Today it is a city of abundance. Now, the secret is it's always been a city of abundance. Always. But not everyone had an abundance mindset. And so right now, I believe Nashville is a city that is growing upon itself. And it's growing upon itself because most people in this city think about how everyone else in the city can help them get better, as opposed to how they're going to come get their slice of the pie. And I think it's just a different environment now. When I first moved to town, to Nashville in 1989, it felt like the first two questions were, where'd you go to high school and who's your daddy? And they just, who, how do you fit into this sort of closed ecosystem? And I don't think those two questions matter a hoot's how in this day and time, right? It's where'd you come from and what are you doing to add to our success? And that's an exciting time. And Nashville is on fire. EO, our EO chapter is the largest in the world. Everywhere you look, there used to be cranes everywhere, and now it's growth in not even a crane sort of way. It's not just in buildings, it's in people, it's in ideas, it's in startups, it's in neighborhoods, it's in people. It's just a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. What do you what role do you think intentional leadership and the culture plays in elevating the creative community here in Nashville?
Well, every leader has an obligation to help others become better leaders, and that goes from whether those are people in your company, people in your industry, people that you're serving. It's always the obligation is to help people step up, because then, and I've heard you say this, everyone's higher, right? And it changes our perspective. When everyone's up on the podium, it's a different perspective. And so then we see even further, and we can plan even better, and we can have even more success. And I think that's a lot of what's happening. Nashville's been blessed with some really good leadership over the past 20 years, and wow, it shows.
Yeah.
Now, for some people, that growth is too much change too fast. We all get frustrated with traffic. We all get frustrated with crowds. I don't go to downtown much anymore because, as Yogi Berra said, it's too crowded. No one goes there anymore. But wow, look at the growth. If anyone who's bought real estate in town in the last 25 years, they look like real estate geniuses. It ain't them. It's the town. And it's because of this sort of collective growth.
Yeah. Well, looking back at CJ and looking forward to like Better Book Club, like what are you the most proud of?
Well, I am the most, my biggest regrets and my biggest moments of pride are both the same thing. It's when I meet a former team member and they are either someone who I hurt because I wasn't a good leader, or I helped because I was a good leader, right? Or at least was acting like one at the time, as opposed to being an ass. And so every time I meet someone who, and we assembled we counted one time, over the 20 years plus of CJ and Legal Intake, we employed, I think it was like 1,000 people, there was some milestone number. And so every time I meet someone, and they say, you helped me blank, that is my most prideful moment. And when I meet someone and they go, it was not a good experience, that is my most regretful moment.
Oh, man. That's unbelievable. Yeah. Well, I'll share some things at the end here that you helped me out with, but that's a great analogy there of the worst and the best all come from the same place. Yeah. What advice would you give to a creative or an entrepreneur that's stuck between like playing it safe and taking a leap? I think you may have told me once in the past, like you got to burn your ships.
Well, I don't know if I, maybe I said it, maybe we both read it in the same book. But be committed to the idea. At some point as an entrepreneur, you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? That's the whole, you need that uncomfortable feeling. That's what propels you as opposed to what holds you back. And I think of the trapeze artists, they can't reach the second swing unless they let go of the first. And so the challenge is, whether you call it burn the ships or let go of the trapeze so you can get to the next place, the challenge is taking that leap, right? Stepping off the platform, trusting in your people, your process, your clients. And know this, it ain't always going to work out. But some of your best stories and some of my best stories are when it didn't work out. And we had to scramble to find a path out. And so it works either way. Either you catch that next swing and you go to the next plateau, or you fall. And your friends and your support team and your own confidence helps pick you back up, and you climb back up and you do it again. Because if you don't, you'll never get there. Yeah. And so just know that if it's worth doing, it's worth doing wrong.
You talked about like culture comes from the leader, but at the same time, I know in your book you mentioned like at one point, I think it was in your book, of like a toxic employee. That had the chance to like bring down CJ.
You're the leader. We had toxic employees. I waited too long. I deserved them because I wanted them to be the right person. I didn't look at this. Every time you let go of a bad team member, the whole rest of the team goes, why didn't you do that 6 months? Like they always know. And it's because we either put blinders on, we don't want to know, it's too big of a hassle, we don't want to face we're the leaders. It doesn't mean you have a perfect culture. It means that when you realize it, you've got to take action. And so we're going to make mistakes. We're going to hire the wrong people. Sometimes we hire the wrong clients, right? And that's the challenge that we have to overcome, right? The revenue versus the effect on our team. The team member who knows exactly how to do a task, but they're poison, and we have to make that choice. We're the leader. You will have those problems until you take actions. You have the culture you deserve. You will always have the culture you deserve. Step up and make the change.
It was amazing. Well, beyond like worth doing wrong, is there one book that you read? And I know you've read thousands of books. Can you boil it down to one?
What do you want to learn? You tell me what you want to learn. I'll tell you the book that helped impact me the most.
What about one that shaped the way you lead?
Well, I'll just say that the first 3 books I chose to read on my own. And carry this message forward to when you think, I want team members to read, I want them to read this latest book. Think of the first 2 or 3 books you chose to read and the impact they had on your life. And I guarantee you it's more, for me, and I suspect for you, it's more than the last 20 you've read. Like the first 2 or 3 books really make an imprint on terms of, oh, wow. I mean, by the way, the secrets are in the book. They're in there. You just have to read them. But the first 3 are so powerful. And my first 3 were Swim with the Sharks by Harvey McKay, taught me how to sell. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a great book that taught me the difference in how a team member responds to things and how an entrepreneur responds to things. 2 different things, both good, just 2 different things. And then Marketing. All Marketers Are Liars by Seth Godin. Yeah. And so that set the tone for me of how to begin marketing. Don't go read those 3 books. I'm not telling you to go. I'm just saying, once you start down that journey and your mind opens to those books, and by the way, there are textbooks that some people like, there are fables, like everyone has to find what they enjoy reading, but just start reading. And and chances are the books you read and the people you meet will change your life.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. What, I guess, as we're starting to wrap up, like, let me just ask you, is there, like, talking about culture, is there a phrase or a word that you think should be on every wall in America in the agency world?
I would just say that more gets created without fear of getting it wrong, right? With the embracing of the fact that we're going to get it wrong. It takes a team. My idea will be made better if I share it and we collaborate on it than if I hold it tight. Those kind of things. That's not a word, but I'm just going to stick with it's worth doing wrong. It's worth figuring out, and that's how we get the best outcome.
Yeah, Arnie, you talk a lot about, like, hey man, you did a lot of things wrong in the early days of CJ, and what I've known is that you've got a pretty profound team that's over there of, like, amazing marketers in different genres, and a lot of them have stuck around even after I'd left. They're still there. Why?
We have 15, 20-year team members over there that are just come to work every day and look for a way to continue. I mean, the greatest thing about CJ is that 6 years after I've sold it, they're more successful than when I was there. So that's both humbling and, oh my God, great.
Yeah.
So they've got people that have been a huge part of the team and a huge part of their clients now success. Yeah. I think they currently have 70% of their clients that they had when I sold and 70% of their team member. Now, I could be off by a little bit, but it's significant.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's next for Arnie Malham?
Well, right now I'm a lavender farmer. We bought some land south of town, and we have 1,100 lavender plants. You shouldn't be growing lavender in Middle Tennessee, but by gosh, we're doing it wrong, so we get it right. And then we harvest and we debud and we distill. I've got a still. We make lavender oil. That oil goes into products, which we sell both at our shop down in Williamsport and at trailhollow.com. And trust me, it is only slightly entrepreneurial. It's more just us tinkering around, but it's been rewarding, right? We just had a beautiful harvest and bloom and harvest. The products that my wife Ann makes are spectacular, and we have fun meeting a lot of folks in Murray County that is very different than the folks we know in Davidson County, but they're all good people, and we've enjoyed our time there. And so right now we're just enjoying sunsets, cigars, lavender, meeting people. I do occasional coaching. I do occasional speaking. But most of my time is just hanging out with my third dog now of my life, my great wife of 35 years, talking to my adult kids every once in a while about their success and challenges, and I'm just enjoying life.
Wow, man! Let's give a shout out to the farm, though. I know you do tours down there as well.
Yeah,
if I wanted to go buy the product?
Well, Trail Hollow, we call it Trail Hollow. It's about 60 acres of rolling countryside that we've worked on. We've learned how to grow lavender. Like I said, we have sprays and salves and soaps and all these different products at trailhollow.com. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah. Well, Arnie, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think would be valuable for the audience?
No, we covered way too much ground. I said and huh and pause way too many times, and I hope this is barely listenable by your. But I will say this: if you're out there, my mobile phone's on my website, worthdoingwrong.com. You can always send me an email. If I can help someone help you see your vision, not for pay, but if you know me or if you've heard this or if you read the book, and if I can answer a question or two or help you get over a stumbling block, I'm happy to do it. Nashville, the community, the world has been very good to me, and we're always happy to engage with others and get back when we can.
Yeah, well, we'll throw your number, if you're cool with it. We'll throw it in the show notes as well, just so. But let's take it back to 2006, and everybody always says, Mark, how did you make the leap from the restaurant business to the advertising world. And, I take it back to like our very first conversation, which you gave me a chance to get into the advertising space and teach me a ton about it. And I remember our first conversation after we were talking about books, and you said, I'm not trying to hire a marketing guy. I know how to market. I'm trying to hire a guy that knows how to hire and build a team, because we have a ton of opportunity here.
Yeah, we need operations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to give you a shout out for, taking a risk, and hopefully like I was a, positive part of your journey in that a lot of the cultural things that you did, it was great to read them in the book, because, you had a little
saw the
bitty
seeds
part
of them as they started. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I just want to give you a, big shout out and a thank you for, starting another entrepreneur in the Nashville agency space and allowing me the opportunity to, feel confident enough in marketing to make that leap. So thanks, Arnie. Really appreciate it.
Welcome to the world. Sorry I let you in, or sorry you got in. But it's, everyone, if everyone that came through CJ went out and created something else, whether it's as big as what you've created or even just something different, then it's a win, right? It's a win for everybody. Like I said, if our goal was anyone that showed up at our shop, whether you're there for a month, a year, or 10 years, you left there better, and you went out and did something great to help the world. And so I hope that's a good thing. I know that sounds lofty and crazy, but we really believed in it.
Well, it's a big part of what we're doing here with Creative Assembly and the Spark Podcast.
Yeah.
How do we give back to the creative community instead of feeling like everybody's competition? How are we more collaborative? And I think what I've seen is when you ask for help, there's a ton of people out there that, will do whatever they can to get you what you need to be successful. And you're definitely one of those people. We talked about Worth Doing Wrong, your book. So I would encourage the audience to go out and, buy that.
I know we're hawking a lot of stuff. We got Worth Doing Wrong, the book. We got BetterBookClub. We got trailholla.com. This is brought to you by Snapshot, by the way. But all that's good, and maybe who knows what the future holds of what's next.
Yeah, well, Arnie, thank you so much for giving your time up and being a part of the Spark by Creative Assembly. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all you're doing for entrepreneurs across Middle Tennessee and around the world. So
light that fire.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Yep. Thanks, Arnie. And that's a wrap on this episode of The Spark from Creative Assembly. Huge thanks to Arnie Malham for sharing his powerful journey, culture-first mindset, and tools that have helped countless organizations grow. If you're walking away more inspired or curious, that's exactly what we had hoped. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow Creative Assembly for more stories like this one. Until next time, stay creative, stay curious, and keep that spark.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Spark from Creative Assembly. Thanks for spending time with us and exploring the minds shaping Nashville's creative future. If you're walking away more inspired, connected, or energized, that's exactly the point. A big thank you to our sponsor, Snapshot, and the incredible team behind the scenes who make this show possible. Your support fuels every conversation and keeps collaboration alive. So if you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, stay creative, stay curious, and keep that spark.